And let's stay on this now. Joining us is retired Los Angeles Police Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey. Sergeant Dorsey, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate your time today. What's your reaction to learning about this double amputee shot and killed by police? Was this excessive force? What is warranted as a next step?
Well, certainly the optics are bad, but as a patrol sergeant who's responsible for managing, evaluating, supervising uses of force, there were certainly other options that these officers had. Officers are trained to use deadly force as a last resort after you've exhausted every other tool that's available to you. And while they may have deployed their taser, I've heard that it didn't work. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it was a malfunction on the taser. Did they deploy the 2 cartridges that were contained and missed Mr. Lowe? Or did they strike him and just have no effect? I don't know what that means. And so did they try to use pepper spray? Did they have pepper spray? Did they try to get cover and concealment if they felt threatened that he might throw the knife? We see him only really fleeing. We see his back to the officers. So I don't see any imminent threat, and that's the only time an officer can use deadly force is to protect the life of themselves or someone else.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I mean, you walked through a couple possibilities just then. I mean, what would these police officers have been trained to do in a situation like this?
Well, I don't know what their training is. Obviously, they don't have what I had on the Los Angeles Police Department. But I mean, generally, the training is to try to, if a person goes in foot pursuit, in this case, that's what you have, then you want to set up a perimeter. You want to request additional units. You want to block off this person's path. Additional units could help get others who might be in harm's way in front of him out of the way. And that would be the ideal purpose. That would be I would want to do that first, is try to, like I said, do everything that I can before I jump to deadly force. And so what's the urgency? I mean, I know he stabbed somebody. He's not stabbing in progress. He's fleeing, and he can only go so far and so quick on those stubs. And so I just think the officers acted too quickly. Now, if they're out there and they're afraid of a man with no legs, then this is the wrong profession for them.
Pretty remarkable situation. We're going to keep watching that, and we really appreciate your perspective on it. I do want to ask you, though, while I have you, President Biden is meeting today with members of the Congressional Black Caucus at the White House, and they're going to talk about police reform. And Biden is calling on Congress to pass the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, which we talked about quite a bit a year or so ago. And of course, this conversation is happening again in the wake of Tyree Nichols' death 3 weeks ago in Memphis. I just want to remind our viewers who may have forgotten about what this act would do. It would require police officers to complete training in racial profiling, implicit bias, and intervention. It would increase body camera use, create a national database for officers who have misconduct allegations, and ban no-knock warrants and chokeholds in some cases. There are also questions, of course, the most controversial piece of this was qualified immunity and whether that should be extended to police officers or not. But it's been 2 years since this was introduced. There's still not the support to pass this bill. What can and should President Biden be doing right now on some of these issues?
Well, we know that the Republicans are not going to pass this with qualified immunity on the table. They've already said that's a non-starter. Having a registry, a national registry with names of officers who've been involved in misconduct is a joke, because we know that at least 3 of the officers involved in the Tyree Nichols murder were on a list. Chief Davis knew exactly who they were. She had disciplined them prior. So here in California, we have a senator by the name of Bradford, who has submitted legislation, Senate Bill 2. Trying to remember what it's called, but it would certainly decertify police officers who engage in the kind of activities that we saw the officers engage in with Mr. Nichols. And so if you decertify a police officer, what happens is much like a person who doesn't have a license to drive a car. You can't do so legally. You can't be a police officer. You can't resign and get that gift of resignation and move on to another department before they have the time to fire you. And so if you're decertified, if you don't hold a post-peace officer standard and training certification, that would be a great first start. And so I'm not even sure that the president on a national level can compel every 18,000
Right.
police chiefs and sheriffs to do that, but that would be a great start.
All right, retired LAPD Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey, thanks as always for your time today. We really appreciate it.